Collisions in two dimensions. The College Board AP Physics 1 exam only requires students to set up the equations properly and be able to discuss how changing the mass, speed, or angle of the problem affects the other quantities. The full numerical solution, however, is shown in this topic for completeness.
Momentum vectors, like all vectors, can be expressed in terms of component vectors relative to a reference frame. So example, if we have a reference frame here, x and y, we can take a momentum vector that is at this angle here and express it in terms of px and py. And here we're just showing the magnitudes of these components. This will also, of course, apply to 3 dimensions, but we'll just do 2 for this chapter. So that means the momentum conservation equation, where your initial momentum equals your final momentum, can be solved independently for each component. So we have p sub x equals p prime sub x, and py equals p prime sub y. Consider a system of 2 objects moving in random directions in a 2-dimensional plane and then colliding. We'll assume there are no external forces acting on the system, so momentum will be conserved. Since there is no absolute reference frame, we're free to choose one that works for us. So in this case, we'll take this as our frame, where the y-axis is in this direction, and the x we're going to line up with the velocity of mass 1. So here's our 2 objects, and we're going to assume that mass 2 is at rest just to make the problem easier. And here's mass 1, where we've lined up the reference frame, the x direction, in the same direction as mass 1's velocity. Furthermore, we're not going to assume a head-on collision, because after the collision, put a little wavy line here, m1 is going to move off in that direction. And the problem is, what's going to be the momentum of mass 2? We know that momentum must be conserved in both the x and the y directions. Initially, there is 0 momentum in the y direction. We just have mass 1 moving in the x direction. So therefore, the final momentum in the y direction must also be 0. The momentum that m1 has in the beginning will then be shared between the 2 masses after the collision. It will not be shared equally. It will depend on the masses and also the separation angle. See this angle here, m1 makes an angle with respect to x, and then m2 we're anticipating will move something like that. Let's sketch in the vectors. Mass 1 we know moves up in that direction, so we know it has a component of momentum in this direction, which we write over here, and it also has a component in the y direction, and that's what this guy is right here. So now let's look what m2 has to do. Well, first of all, it has to make up some of this momentum. All right, this is your initial total momentum, so my final momentum has to be the same length. So this piece here is going to be due to this object here, mass 2. We also know that since there's no initial y momentum, the momentum of object 1, which is in the up direction, must be exactly canceled out by the momentum of object 2. So here's your x components, here's your y components. Let's take these blue lines here, which represent the momentum of mass 2. We add them together. Here's the horizontal component, here's the vertical component, and right here is going to be the final momentum vector for mass 2. And if you remember from just a slide back, we kind of guessed that it would move off in this direction. Educated guess. If you've ever played billiards, you would see if you hit a ball and the one ball goes this way, the other guy typically goes like that. Let's switch from vector analysis to some algebra to find the momentum, which is the magnitude and direction that m2, which is the bowling pin, leaves with after the collision. So here's the problem statement. You have a momentum here of m1, and then you have the momentum of m1 after the collision, and the angle it takes off with respect to the x-axis. The nice thing here is we don't have to worry about the masses because we're just calculating momentum, and the problem is find the final momentum of the pin. An excellent way to start any physics problem is with a nice sketch, which we have, and then list your givens. We know that mass 2 is at rest, so it has no momentum either in the x direction or the y direction. Mass 1 has a momentum in the x direction, nothing in the y. We come over here, here's our given, and we right away resolve this vector into its x and y components. The x component is going to be the hypotenuse, which is 12 times cosine of the angle here, 60 degrees. The y component is going to involve the sine function. So that's what we have here. So now we have our final momentum of the bowling ball broken down into its x and y components. What we want to find is the momentum of the pin, and that's this vector right here. Now if we draw a right triangle there, we know that this is going to be P2x and this is P2y. So to find the magnitude of the hypotenuse, we just use Pythagoras here. And you can see how we have the primes indicating this is the final momentum. To find the angle theta, we just use the arctan function. It's equal to this side, the magnitude of this side, opposite, over adjacent. And the adjacent side is the x component. And here we have the equation we're going to use to find theta. We'll use the conservation of momentum in the x and y directions. Let's start with x. We have the initial momentum in the x plane for both objects equals the final momentum. Again, don't put any numbers in until you have your variable isolated. We want to find p prime of 2x. So we get that over to the left, everybody else is on the right. Now you can put the numbers in. We have the initial momentum of object 1 in the x direction is 20 kilogram meters per second. There is no momentum in the y direction. And here's the final momentum of object 1 in the x direction, 12 cosine 60. Keep the units outside here just so we don't have to put them next to each number. And we find that p prime 2x is 14.0 kilogram meters per second. Now, in the y direction, very similar, except here we're solving for p prime 2y. We isolate the variable. We substitute in our numbers, and again, that's why it was handy to have a section that showed our given. And of course, we derive this by basically using a variant of Pythagoras. Add the numbers, and we have P2 prime y is negative 10.4 kilogram meters per second. And that makes sense. You can see how the x component is positive, and the y component is going to be negative as it's pointing down. We have the x and y components of the final momentum of object 2, the bowling pin. So we go to Pythagoras to find the magnitude of the vector right here. That's where the momentum is directed. You just square these terms and take the square root. Notice how we don't care about the negative sign here. We just square it. And we get a final momentum, magnitude of momentum for the bowling pin of 17.4 kilogram meters per second. Now we want to find the angle theta. That is equal to tan inverse of the momentum in the y direction divided by the momentum in the x direction. We put the numbers in here, and here we see the angle will come out to be negative. The tangent function is negative in the fourth quadrant, and we get an angle of negative 36.6 degrees. Or we could also say it is 36.6 degrees south of the x-axis. Or we could have a picture and just point to the angle and put the number. That's also a good way of doing it. Anything that makes it clear to whoever is working with you.
Let's work another problem. Start with the given quantities, and note that this problem will be worked backwards. The final, not the initial conditions, are specified. So here's our final conditions right here. Okay, and that's after. And here's our givens. Theta prime of the ball, we're just going to call that theta prime sub 1, is 53.1 degrees. Theta prime of the pin, or theta 2 prime, is 30 degrees. The momentum is 18 kilogram meters per second of the pin, and the mass of the ball is 5 kilograms. The task is to find the initial velocity of the ball, or v1. So we're looking over here. Since there are no external forces specified, we will assume conservation of momentum, and it has to be in both the x and y directions independently. So let's start in the x direction. We have p1x plus p2x equals p prime 1x plus p prime 2x. Where, right, this is 1 and this is 2. Now, P2x is equal to 0. Why? Because the pin is not moving. So this reduces to P1x is P'1x plus P'2x. Now let's look in the y direction. Our initial momentum in the y direction is 0 plus 0, right? Because the ball is just moving in the x direction and the pin is not moving at all. That will equal P'1y plus P'2y, and do a little algebra and we get this right here. To find the initial velocity of the bowling ball, we need to find P1x and then divide it by the mass of the ball. Let's first find P'1x and P'2x. P'1y over P'1x is tangent of 53.1 degrees. Right, so what do we have? That's the ball. Right? That vector is P'1y, and this vector is P'1x. So we get P'1x is equal to 0.751 P'1y. P'2x, we have this angle here which is 30 degrees. The hypotenuse here is 18, so 18 cosine 30 equals P'2x, or 15.6. We now have to find P'1y in order to find P'1x. We have, from previous slides, P'1y is equal to minus P'2y. So we substitute in the hypotenuse here, 18, and the angle, which is 30, and we take minus 18 sine of negative 30 is equal to 9. We can then find P'1x, which again we solved on a previous slide, which is 0.751 P'1y, and that is 6.76. Almost done. P1 is equal to P1x, which is now equal to P'1x plus P'2x. Substitute in the two numbers. 6.76 comes from here, and 15.6 is from the previous slide. And we get 22.4 kilogram meters per second. Then, to find the velocity of 1, it's P1 divided by mass 1, 22.4 over 5, and our final answer is V1, the initial velocity of the ball, is 4.5 meters per second. A common perfect inelastic collision is where two cars collide and stick at an intersection. The cars are traveling along paths that are perpendicular just prior to the collision. So here's our reference frame over here. Mass 1 is moving to the right, mass 2 is moving down, and afterwards they stick together with a combined momentum of P', and they move off at this angle theta. Here's the equations we'll use. Momentum conservation in x is going to be P1x, and P2 doesn't have anything in the x direction. So P1x is going to equal P'x. In the y direction, P2y, which is this momentum over here, is equal to P'y over here. Then our final momentum is P' is P'x quantity squared plus P'2 quantity squared, and you take the square root. Then your final velocity V' is just your final momentum P' over M1, M2 because they stick together. And theta will be tan inverse of minus P'y over P'x. The black object explodes into three pieces, blue, red, and green. We want to determine the momentum of the third piece given the momentum of pieces 1 and 2. All right, so here's our initial object. It explodes into red, blue, and green. Can you see why the third piece moves the way it is shown? During an explosion, the total momentum is unchanged since no external force acts on the system. By Newton's third law, the forces that occur between the particles within the object will add up to 0, so they don't affect the momentum. If the initial momentum is 0, the final momentum is 0. So the third piece, over here, right here, must have equal and opposite momentum to the sum of the other two pieces. Determine the momentum of the third piece. Before the explosion, this object is not moving. So px is equal to py is equal to 0. Afterwards, we have p'1x plus p'2x plus p'3x has to equal the initial momentum in the x direction, which is 0. Then p'1y plus p'2y plus p'3y also equals 0. So, since the blue and red pieces are moving perpendicular to each other, p'1y equals 0, which then means that p'3y has to equal minus p'2y. Then p'2x is equal to 0, right? Because here's p'2, it's just moving in the y direction, which means that p'3x is equal to minus p'1x. We want to find p'3, right? That's the goal. So that's going to be the square root of p'3x quantity squared plus p'3y quantity squared. Take the square root. Then what is p'3x and p'3y equal to? Well, that's equal to minus p'1x, and we get that up with these two here, plus minus p'2y squared. Then theta will be the tan inverse of p'1x over p'2y.